Hey guys! Rings of Power Season 2 just dropped and we have 3 episodes to talk about. This video will cover the first one, and the reviews of episode 2 and 3 are hopefully coming tomorrow and after tomorrow, so please subscribe if you don't want to miss them. 2 years ago we roasted this show together, we had lots of fun, and we're gonna do it again. So welcome all my old and new subscribers, thank you very much for being here, and let's get into it. Episode 1 of Amazon's fanfiction starts in a pretty clunky way. We are reminded of what happened in Season 1, most importantly the fact that Halbrand is Sauron, in case you forgot, and Galadriel didn't tell anyone. But Elrond investigated and connected the dots, so he knows something is up as well now, but this is still only a flashback. And then we get yet another
flashback
where we see Sauron in his previous form. And we get a little bit of a backstory. He basically wants to be the leader of the orcs. I'm the only one who cares about you, and together we'll make a new world order. The men don't want you, the elves don't like you, I'm all you've got. Now, Adar is also there, he's supposed to crown him, but he stabs him with the crown instead, which is kind of funny. But anyway, they fight, and the orcs defeat Sauron, or so they think. But actually Sauron pulls a Houdini on them, he causes an explosion, and poof, he disappears. But what actually happened is he turned into this black sludge. Ah yes, one of Sauron's many nicknames. Sauron the Slimy Sludge. This one got lost to history, but trust me, it used to be his real nickname. I'm just here filling in the blanks for Professor Tolkien, just like the showrunners from The Rings of Power are doing. So Sauron the Black Slushy feeds on things and starts growing and ultimately emerges as Halbrand. He runs into people from the Southlands who are running away from the orcs, and the speech this kind old man gives him. "I know you've suffered, I can see it in your eyes, but there is a new life waiting for you. You just have to turn toward it, find another path." They're trying so hard to give Sauron a backstory and make him some sort of a tragic villain. No, he's so misunderstood. He just wanted to help the underdog orcs, but they stabbed him in the back. So we can see where this is going. They board a ship, get attacked by the sea monster, or the worm, as Season 1 called it. Blah blah blah. Halbrand eventually ends up on the raft with Galadriel. We know this part. And then finally,
much later,
22 minutes into the first episode, 22 minutes in, we finally catch up to present day. I might be a bit out of shape with watching The Rings of Power, but honestly, this episode dragged on so much it felt like an entire season. But anyway, Galadriel is chasing Elrond on a horse, very Arwen style. He took the rings from Eregion and brought them to Gil-galad, where they finally confront Galadriel with the question of, well, who is this Halbrand guy? What happened? Now listen, Galadriel spent thousands of years looking for Sauron, trying so hard to make people believe that he's still out there. Last season, she jumped off a ship into the middle of the ocean so that she could continue the search. And now that he was within her grasp, you know what she said to Elrond and Celebrimbor? "He is not what he says he is. He's gone, and I doubt he will return. But you know, if he does, don't interact with him." I paraphrased, but you get the gist. No further explanation. We'll get back to Galadriel and her lack of logic, because honestly, it might just be worse than in Season 1. But the only one making sense here is Elrond, who is like, "So, the literal Sauron helped make these rings. Should we maybe take precautions, do you think?" Even Gil-galad is like, no, give me those rings, let's use them. Our tree is dying and so are we. So Elrond does what any sane person would. He jumps off a cliff into a waterfall with the rings and escapes. Now, we'll skip the Nori and Amazon's Discount Gandalf storyline because I don't want you or me to fall asleep. But basically, they're in the middle of the desert, wandering. Discount Gandalf conjures them some cockroaches to eat. Delicious. And Poppy followed them, so she eventually joins them too. No surprise. You know, the female Frodo and female Sam kind of have to be together. But yeah, again, this is pure fanfiction by Amazon. We're watching characters that were made up specifically for this show, who have nothing to do with Tolkien's books, doing random not very interesting stuff. I literally skipped through most of these scenes. And I was so looking forward to fewer Harfoot scenes in this season, but alas.
Meanwhile,
Halbrand turned himself in Mordor, and the orcs bring him to Adar, who doesn't recognize him in this Halbrand form, of course. Also, yeah, he's still Halbrand. He hasn't utilized the almighty wig yet. And Halbrand wants Adar to, quote, let my people go. And he insinuates that Sauron has returned, but he can help Adar find Sauron. Now, Adar refuses, puts him in jail. That awful CGI warg is back, but this season it's so dark we can't even properly see him, so I absolutely count this as a huge win. And then eventually Adar and Sauron do reach an agreement and Halbrand goes back to Eregion. And look, they even gave him a horse. Such nice orcs. Gil-galad sends a message to Celebrimbor about Sauron, but the message never reaches him. Now, of course, our strong girl Galadriel wants to go after Sauron alone, and, she wants to clean up the mess that she's made. But girlie, are you sure you want to go after him alone? He's already fooled you once, and you better watch out, because he's gonna have a wig soon, and he's not afraid to use it. I hate to say it, but I really don't think Galadriel stands a chance against this wig. Now, about Galadriel's general attitude and decisions, you can't even sell this as Galadriel being inexperienced or prideful or, making mistakes of youth or whatever, because all her decisions are simply dumb and reckless. She is a 1,000-year-old elf here. A 15-year-old kid would have more foresight and common sense. Nori, who eats roaches and puts twigs in her hair, has more common sense. But anyway, somehow, by the grace of plot convenience, Galadriel figures out that Elrond went to Círdan, a wise older elf who is not made up by Amazon. How does she come to this conclusion, though? Well, because the script says so. I mean, yeah, who wouldn't go to an older, albeit wise, shipwright to destroy 3 magical rings? I mean, you could technically put the rings on a ship, sink the ship, and voila, done. Now Galadriel and Gil-galad ride out to meet with Elrond. Galadriel speaks to him and we get that line again. With 3 rings there is balance. I know in my heart that they are free of Sauron's influence. How does it make sense to assume this? Sauron helped make the rings. How would you conclude that there is none of his influence in them? Oh, it's because you feel it in your heart. Oh, sorry. Okay, then. Yeah, that makes total sense. But, aha! Little does Galadriel know that Círdan took the rings and sailed away with them. But he can't throw them overboard because the sea is always right. And the sea in this case apparently said, keep them ring pops. So the elves in Lindon are getting ready to leave Middle-earth because everything is fading, they're dying. But then, dun dun dun, Círdan comes and brings the rings. He's now decided, let's not destroy them. And one of the rings rolls down to Galadriel in a very member-berry kind of way. She picks it up, puts it on, Gil-galad and Círdan put their rings on, and the nature comes to life again and everything is very yellow. But the most surprising thing is, everyone seems to be fine with Galadriel keeping this very powerful ring, apparently. We're not talking about Tolkien's Galadriel, we're talking about this fictional version of Galadriel. She should be entrusted with this much power? She's not a diplomat. She may be a fighter due to plot convenience, but most importantly, she's a liar, a deceiver, ironically, who can't own up to her mistakes, has terrible judgment, terrible interpersonal skills. This character at this point in time is most certainly not deserving of such a powerful object. And the episode ends with Sauron arriving to Eregion, still in his Halbrand form, but not for long. Now, overall, aesthetically, the show is still pretty, just like the last season. Pretty, but hollow. I did, for example, like the design of the Grey Havens. Music I enjoyed. Nothing really stood out, but the scores do make me feel like I'm in Middle-earth, so I guess that's a little win, if you want to count it as such. The costumes, they seem more or less the same as they did last season. I mean, we do see many of Season 1 costumes again, and some new ones. I do like this dress of Galadriel's. The color is gorgeous on her and the design is simple, but not too simple. And in Linden, we see a lot of elves. Costume-wise, it's a mixed bag. Some of the outfits seem a bit random, and I know these are just extras, but still, many of these looks don't look particularly elven, regal. There are different elements to the garments, but they feel a bit disjointed. The hairstyles probably don't help either in many cases. There is an overall lack of cohesion, I find. Yes, there is glitter and rhinestones and crystals, but some fabrics look thin and stretchy, which in many cases makes them look cheaper. Thin, unlined, and stretchy is the complete opposite of what we would expect to see in an era that takes place in a fictional past such as this. That's something that stood out to me so far. And now the rings I already talked about in my previous video, they are not good. Sorry, not sorry. The proportions are way off and they come across as plastic toy rings. It's a shame, but it is what it is. Now I'll do my best to get episode 2 edited for tomorrow. You can expect part 3 on Sunday, hopefully if everything goes according to plan. Leave your thoughts about the Rings of Power Season 2 in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys!
The sea is always right!
The sea is always right!